This is Dianne Andrews in black and white. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Thank you. I'm your host, Dianne Andrews of Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Thank you for being here with us today. Today we've got a show on addictions. We're going to talk about weight loss, we're going to talk about smoking, we're going to talk about alcohol, and we're going to talk about drugs. And I have three great guests with me. I want to thank YouTube also, and I also want to thank you out there in TV land for taking us all over Louisiana except New Orleans, and soon hopefully we'll be in New Orleans. And again, thank you all. You look good out there. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Tramontana, who is our clinical psychologist, and he's a certified hypnotist. And he's got hypnotherapist, because you can't say certified. Anybody can go be certified hypnotist in a 2 or 3 day class, correct?
Right.
And how long did you go for this?
Years.
Years.
Ongoing
for
education.
Hypnosis. For
right.
Hypnosis.
Right.
Okay. And hypnosis now has been known to help people in a lot of areas, including weight loss and stopping smoking, addictions,
right.
and many other, gambling, stopping gambling. When I lived in Houston years ago, it was a lady who went to a hypnotist to make her breasts increase. Is that true? Have you ever heard of that before, Dr. Tramontana?
Actually, there's a book about that. I'm not sure how effective it is.
It could save people a lot of money from plastic surgery, couldn't it? My cousin's out there in California. Okay. And then I have Shakita Hilliard with us. She's an RN, a registered nurse in the medical arena. And then I have a very special young man to me, Omari Andrews, who is my nephew. We're going to start. Oh, you want to hold my hand? Okay, shake my hand. All right. Let's start talking with you, Dr. Tramontana, a little bit. These two people who he has not met, he's talked to them a minute, they both have lost 40 to 50 pounds in the last 2 years naturally, with no gimmicks, no pills, well, dieting, of course. So they both done that on their own, and we just want to show you people out in the audience, and everyone may not can do it this way, but we want to show you some people who have, and maybe you can learn something that can help you get the discipline to do that same kind of thing. What do you think is the safest way to lose weight, Dr. Montana? But before you answer that, I asked him to send me his curriculum vitae. For people who don't know what that is, that's like your resume when you've done a lot of good things. And it's what, 15 pages long here or something like that. This man has done so much. You graduated from LSU New Orleans, which you're a native of New Orleans.
Right.
And then you went on to the University of Mississippi.
Yes.
To get your master's and a PhD in psychology, correct?
Correct.
And now you live in New Orleans and you work in New Orleans and Baton Rouge.
And Baton Rouge,
yes. So tell me, what do you think about people losing weight the natural way and other ways that are safe? Because on People magazine, here these women say they're half their size that they were. And they did it the natural way. If anybody looks at this, they have about 10 people in here who did it the natural way, including one of them got a physical trainer, which I think you did, in here. And one lady says she lifts weights every day. She's got those Michelle Obama arms, you know, those really nice arms. So tell them, what do you think about that? Or would you like to hear them talk first on what they did?
Well, I think it's great that they did this on their own, which means that you guys have tremendous willpower. I work with a lot of clients who come to me to help them lose weight, and I use hypnotic techniques. But that's usually because they haven't been able to do it on their own. A lot of the people that get weight loss surgery, it's because they haven't been able to do it on their own. I think it's great what you guys are doing. But I can talk more about what I do with weight loss patients after they
tell us what they did. I'm going to start with you, Omari. Tell the audience out there, how did you make up in your mind and get the discipline? I know you're very disciplined because Omari was a stutterer.
Stutterer too. Just
and then he did that on his own. He stopped stuttering.
It's been a rough 15 years with that and everything, trying to overcome the speech impediment. It took about 10 years to overcome that and everything, but I was around 140, 145 around 05, 06, and I just gained weight. I got up to 220, And I just looked at myself.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
220.
I gained like 80 pounds. And I just said, I'm just tired of being fat. I just got some walking shoes. Started walking, started dieting. Lost 50 pounds and everything over the past 2 years. But my main goal for this year is to lose at least 30 pounds.
We've got a before and after picture of Omari showing what he looked like 2 years ago. That's going to be on your screen in just a few seconds. As you can see, look at the face then and look at the face now. What a difference we see in Omari compared to what he's done in losing the weight. Now we want to go to Shakita Hilliard, who is overweight and is in medical field. So tell me, Shakita, what prompted you and what did you do to lose this weight?
Well, Diane, a couple of years ago, I was standing over the bedside of a patient who had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and I was educating my patient on what he needed to do. And at that moment, something clicked in my brain. I'm huffing and puffing trying to get to your room. How can I teach you how to properly take care of yourself if I'm overweight? So that's where it started, and I tried to do it on my own, but it just wasn't enough until January of 14, I'm sorry. Got diagnosed with hypertension.
Oh. And how old were you then, Shakita?
I was young.
You don't have to say, yeah, you're right. As old as your tongue, my mama used to say, older than your teeth. Okay, right.
Just a year ago, though. I went to the doctor.
But I mean, you were young. It wasn't like you were 45,
no,
50.
just a year ago.
Yeah,
1 year ago
right.
this year. To this month, make a year ago. And I was diagnosed with hypertension. I have hypertension in my family, and I knew that with hypertension, it could potentially kill me if I did not take a hold of my weight. And those are one of the things my doctor said: exercise, lose weight. So
next would have been diabetes.
I hired exactly. I hired a personal trainer for 6 weeks, and during that process, I joined a running group, a local running group here in Baton Rouge, and I began to run. Every day we ran. I cut out certain foods. I cut out white foods, or I ate them in moderation. I ate on smaller plates.
What you did was what you told your patients to do. And you started practicing what you preached, right?
Exactly.
And let's show Shakita's before picture. Well, as they get your picture, we're going to... Omari, you walk about an hour, 2 to 3 hours a day, don't you?
Well, I walk 6 miles a day. I walk 3 miles in the morning and 3 miles in the evening.
Now, Shakita, how long are you running? And let's stand up. They saw that before picture. And so stand up and let them see what you look like today. How many pounds have you lost, Shakita?
In total, I was near 260 when I first started this journey. Now I'm at 230. I lost 50 prior, but I gained a few pounds back due to some extenuating circumstances. But I'm on board again to lose an additional 30 this year.
Because remember, I met you around the end of 2013 or beginning, of 2013, right? And you were much heavier than you are today. And you're a tall lady, so you can carry the weight. You know, when you're talking to someone like my height or some 4 or 5 pounds, you can see a difference on me. But you can carry the weight, but you still would felt too big for yourself. You know how I've always controlled my weight is, since I was 15, I get on the scales. And if I have gained 3 or 4 pounds that day, you know, sometimes we women get bloated in different circumstances, but if I've gained weight, I eat salads the next 2 days. I've never been on a diet in my life. Omari will tell you. That's how hey, I love clothes, and so do you. So I'm surprised you let all your clothes just get too small for you over the years.
Well, Diane, when you go through situations in your life, me gaining the weight was due to circumstances in my life, and at that time I was going through a state of depression as well, and so I ate. I ate to get up. I ate throughout the day. I ate anything that was in front of me.
Wow.
I got up out the bed at night just to eat.
And this was all caused by depression.
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't. When you're in a state of depression, let's talk about that, Dr. Tremontana. What do you find a lot of people gain weight because of depression?
Yes. We talked earlier about the fact that I use clinical hypnosis, which hypnosis is a topic for another show.
Right.
But in terms of weight loss, I work with patients to not only give them hypnotic suggestions to stick to their diet and exercise plan, but also to uncover whatever psychological reasons might be there that they're self-sabotaging. Because all of us want to be slim. We promise, you know, we're going on a diet Monday. Consciously, we have good intentions, but something goes on unconsciously that causes us to sabotage ourselves. I'm pretty convinced that people, not people who are 25 pounds overweight like me, maybe not even 40 or 50, but people that are 100 pounds overweight, they have psychological issues which either cause the weight gain or are the result of the weight gain, you see. And so we have to deal with what are the psychological reasons that they're miseating or overeating.
Now, do you think, let's say yourself, you say you're 25 pounds overweight.
Right.
Would you consider getting another hypnotist to hypnotize you to go on a diet, to lose weight?
I'm already losing.
On your own?
I used to control it by running, which is what Chiquita does, but then my back got too bad to run, and I put it back on. So now I have to use mental processes to stick to
You didn't answer my question. Would you
Yes,
consider?
yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Let's tell everybody. Some people may not know what hypnotic therapy is.
Hypnosis is an altered state of consciousness. It's not an unconscious state. It's not a sleep state. It's an altered state of consciousness during which you have heightened focus on whatever we're dealing with, and block out peripheral awareness. So you focus totally on the issue at hand, and it makes the person more susceptible to suggestions, hypnotic suggestions.
Now,
In this case, it would be to lose weight.
Or you could stop. Have you had a success with gambling? I had an ex-husband, and that's one reason I couldn't stay with him. I mean, gambling is not a physical, it's not a disease like tobacco will kill you. That's the #1 killer out of the 4 preventable diseases, which is smoking. 480,000 people a year die from smoking, but #2 is obesity. 150,000 people die a year of obesity, eating too much. And then I was shocked, and we're going to talk to some people a little later in the program about drugs and alcohol. Drugs was #3 and alcohol was #4. I couldn't believe they're 40 to 50,000.
Right.
100 people die a day from an overdose, and we'll talk about that in the next show. But I put this down here now. Before, Chiquita, you would have gotten up eating this cake and eating these sun chips at night, binge eating, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But alcohol, was that a problem? Because alcohol has a lot of sugar in it.
Sure.
No.
Never alcohol. Well, I think, do you all have any advice that you would like to give to people on where to start, Omari, on their diet? What do they do first?
I would say just go get some walking shoes, get a trail, and just walk and just diet and
Sit up, Omar.
just
I can't hear
diet.
you well. Okay, go on.
Just diet and just have the force to do it, and you'll be all right.
The first thing is making up your mind and getting the discipline.
I was just going to say that the first thing is just deciding that there is a problem, and then I wouldn't necessarily call it dieting. I would call it making a lifestyle
You're
change
right.
because
You're
I
right.
never ate diet food ever.
That's right.
I just monitored and watched what I ate, and I ate on small.
And that's right. It's a lifestyle change.
Exactly. And I drink 8 glasses of water a day.
I know you have. I've seen the bottle. So
You have to drink your water a day.
And you put lemon in it also. I see lemon in it because that purifies the water.
Yes,
right.
ma'am, I do. So you drink your water every day, and you must do some type of physical activity every day. I walked. I did a half marathon, 13.5 miles, 13.1 miles.
Wow.
Was my ultimate goal, and I accomplished that goal
Is
April
that the
of
Baton
last
Rouge
year.
Marathon or
No,
Baker?
this was over in Galveston, Texas.
Oh,
I
really? You
traveled.
flew over. You went over there to be in the marathon. That's
Yes,
very nice.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you met like-minded people also. Association probably helps also.
You have to associate yourself with people who are on the same path that you're on. You can't, party and go out to, different events where
Right.
there's a lot of food. You have to get amongst people who like to exercise, who like to eat right. And that was one of the goals my running group did. They were like-minded people who ran, exercised, and ate right.
Well,
And
Chiquita, what we're going to do is bring you all back. Since you have a goal to lose some more, and you just said you had a goal to lose more, we're going to bring you back in a later program to see if you accomplish your goals. We'll be right back. Thank you. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. Thank you for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I think you'll enjoy the rest of our show. Earlier we talked about overweight people and how they use natural ways to lose 30 to 50 pounds. And we're going to bring them back because they both have a desire to lose another 30 pounds. So we'll see how they do in about 6 months from now. We'll bring them back on the show, and we're challenging them, and I think that'll help them stay on their path if they need help, because they're both very disciplined on this path anyway. We have Dr. Joseph Tramontana back with us, and also we have two very special guests. Look at this couple, and they're just the ideal, beautiful couple. It's really three of them. It's not couple. It's three people in here today because she's about to give birth, and we appreciate you all for being able to come. This is Kelly and Scott Huffman. Kelly herself is a recovering alcoholic, and her husband Scott has re-entered into society from the prison system. In the prison system, he became a person interested in sign language, and now is and learned sign language. ASL, the American Sign Language, is what it's called, I think. Yep. And he's getting a degree from Williamswood University in interpretive sign language, I think. I mean, a little
Bachelor
short.
of Science in Interpretation, English to ASL.
So tell us about this story. He was her drug dealer, and she went. I do know this part that I wanted to say because it's a real tribute. I think when we talked, you had told me that you were staying with your father, who was not that great of an influence on you. And your mother was with a stepfather who was a nicer person. Your mother said she would help you, and you had to go down to the bottom. You had no electricity, no water, nowhere to sleep. You were sleeping in the car before
Not
you
the
were
car,
able.
at one time in Zachary, in a trailer with no electricity and water.
And then, did you ever have to sleep in the car?
No. I guess with a female, it's easier to find places to sleep.
I'm doing a homeless show later this weekend, and I was looking at some people that are sleeping in the car, and it's pretty bad. I mean, you had a 6'6" athlete sleeping in the car with his parents. There was 4 of them in the car. So tell us, how did you meet Scott, and give us a description of that story.
Well, in 2005, I was living with my father, and he has a history of alcohol addiction, and his home got it taken away from him. So he asked me if I would get an apartment in my name because I was 18, and so that's what we did. And so it was a few months before I graduated, and when we moved in, he was our neighbors, and I was actually a few months pregnant at the time, and his son was about 4 or 5 months old.
You both have children from previous relationships.
Right. And so it was my father and my daughter's father at the time, and I at that home, and then they were our neighbors. And so.
So how did you get to buy drugs from Scott?
I guess the opportunity presented itself, and
so you were already using drugs, as this was the first time?
Yeah,
you
I started
began.
when I was 14 years old. My parents got divorced at 12, and they actually really hid it well. You know, I didn't understand at the time because my mom hid it too well, and so when they divorced, I took it hard. And so at 14, I started.
You mean hid their problems in the relationship?
They kept everything behind closed doors, and so
you thought they were fine, so it was a shock.
I mean, I knew Dad had a problem, and there was scary times, but I didn't realize how bad it was. So when they divorced, I took it really hard.
Scary times, you mean financial or hitting your mother, domestic abuse?
Yeah, that and just like my dad being like he's an angry drunk when he drinks. So there was just some times, and so I didn't really understand the extent at the time. So when they divorced, I took it hard. So
you started sniffing cocaine or shooting
No,
heroin?
I met my daughter's father at 14, and I started smoking marijuana first. So that's kind of, they say, the gateway drug. So I started with that. It was a daily thing, and as you know, time progressed, I tried, everything I tried. The only things I hadn't tried yet were heroin, which is very popular now. Thankfully, I wasn't around. And crack.
So did she come to you? How did you find, Scott, how did she find out you were selling drugs?
Well, I didn't really sell drugs directly to her. I dealt with her daughter's father, and I would front him amounts of drugs, and he would pay me later, and that's the type of relationship. So through her and his relationship, she was able to get drugs from him because I was giving to him.
So we look at this, we did the fat part and we used this part, so we looked at the cigarettes, this is not real, the play marijuana, and the salt we're using for cocaine and the liquor. This would just be an everyday kind of setting for you all. Okay. And that was your life until, tell me what happened to stop it, Scott.
So I lived a destructive life for several years, and then after repeated offenses, I had my door kicked in. I was being watched pretty heavy, and
By the police.
yeah, and so I kept getting arrested, and the famous saying is never get high on your own supply, and I thought I was big stuff, and I had a lot of money and a lot of drugs, so I started using recreation, and it turned into an addiction, and I was
Cocaine, heroin.
Opiates and benzos and marijuana and
You did it all.
steroids and
You did
everything. So yeah, I got really addicted to OxyContin, and that was kind of the downward spiral from there. I just kept catching case after case,
Didn't you
charge
tell
after
a policeman
charge.
once I can hire you because you don't make enough money, or I make way more money than you do?
Yeah,
And
I said some stupid stuff to the police on
Yeah.
several occasions, but yeah, that was one situation as I was hogtied in the back of a car and
lucky he
washed
didn't beat you up then.
Yeah.
You must have been a good cop.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you ended up, what really changed your life in prison? I understand you went down to the bottom, and then you went to rehab, as Kelly, and that changed your life. And at the interim, you were going to prison, I think.
Right. So actually, the year she went to rehab, I went to prison. So, I mean, I did drugs. I got high. I got into fights. Was getting tattoos, talking on cell phones for about a year and a half of my incarceration, and then I got shipped to another prison, like a state prison. I was floated around a couple of detention centers in North Louisiana, and prior to that, I kept feeling like a tug, like I needed to do something different, but I just, I was so, dead set on blaming the world.
Were you getting drugs in prison, as I hear people do? You were getting as much drugs as you wanted while you were incarcerated, is that correct?
If I wanted it, I could get it.
It was there.
Yeah, so anyways, I got in trouble at one place I was at, and then they shipped me to a state facility. It was like a real, penitentiary prison.
Let's get to the part with you with the sign language and when you met the people.
Right, okay. So when I got there, I noticed they had a population of deaf people, and so I took notice and got really fascinated in it. So I used to sit outside and stare at it all day long. I was like, I need to learn. I want to learn. And I just kept seeing a lot of injustice happen to those guys. They would get rid of. They would get, sexual predators would be after them and stuff like that. So anyways, I was like, I wanted to get involved, wanted to learn the language, and wanted to, help the guys out or whatever. So I learned.
So you were finding a purpose while you were in prison.
And so that really, that really was a catalyst besides, and then the main catalyst was the Lord. I rededicated my life back to the Lord. And then everything took course from there. That one decision. So
it shows you what God can do.
Yeah.
And he's reformed, getting his bachelor's degree, and they're about to have their first baby together. What do you think of this, Dr. Tramontana? Have you found people? Of course, they did it on their own, pretty much. Well, she went to rehab.
Well, they had some help.
Right.
Yeah.
But congratulations.
Yeah.
In
story,
your
isn't it?
recovery. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And I might need your services for some of my deaf clients.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's great.
But I mentioned before when we're talking about weight loss about the hypnotic work with uncovering psychological reasons, unconscious reasons that people self-sabotage. And I do that often with alcohol, drugs, gambling. And I wrote a book on hypnotically enhanced treatment for addictions.
That's right. You've written 2 books?
Yeah, but that one, hypnotically enhanced is the key, because it's not just hypnosis. I'm using a lot of other therapies, including reinforcing the patients going to AA or Gambling Anonymous or
Do you all go there?
Narcotics Anonymous. So I use hypnosis, for example, the 12-step programs. I'll use hypnosis to reinforce the steps. You see, and people seem to really
You've
get
had great
into it.
success with hypnosis, because some people I've mentioned it to about doing this show, and they say, "Oh, that's a pot crap. It's crap." A lot of people don't believe in hypnosis.
Well, because they don't understand it.
Right.
But with all these people, we talk about self-sabotage. I refer to a book called Addicted to Unhappiness. And there are some people they're so used to things not going well for them that when things are going well, they'll do something to screw it up. Because it's almost like, well, I'm not supposed to be
A
happy.
self-defeating purpose
pattern.
almost. The power of positive thinking will take you a long way.
So we have to find out what is the issue that's causing the self-sabotage.
And you find that out by just counseling, talking them as a psychologist.
Talking with them and also under hypnosis, because often the patient's not aware of what that is.
Now, as being president of the Louisiana Psychological Association and then president of the New Orleans Clinical Hypnotic Society, I think you are.
Right.
You see a lot of patients also. So you're Baton Rouge and you're in New Orleans. Are you in the book, doctor, if someone would like to come to you, or would you like to say your number, telephone number to people, how they can reach you?
I have a website, www.drjoseph.tramontana.com.
Dr. Joseph Tramontana. Don't be like me. Don't call him Montana. It's Tramontana.
Right.
Tramontana. So I think you've helped a lot of people, it seems, in your practice over 30 years, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And I think these people are a great testament, and all the 4 guests I've had today, on how you can use mind over matter, and a lot of it is in finding your purpose. Once you find your purpose, I think you know what path you want to go on in your life. And now, who would believe? And you know, you would think of grungy-looking people up. No one would have ever said these were 2 ex-druggies. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay, is there anything you would like to tell people out there?
I think that if you're serious about recovery, you know, I was terrified. It was a pattern that I had done for 7 years, you know. You have to figure out, you know, with alcoholism and drug addiction, it's, you know, it is a disease and it's very complex and misunderstood, but 12-step programs, you know, getting active with someone who's been through it, working with other people.
Support groups.
You have to have a fellowship support,
People like
and
you.
so it's staying involved. They have a new treatment here in town called Serenity Center. It's in Baton Rouge. It just opened. They have a great program established. So.
Great. Well, we thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. And again, we'll have you back when these people, their challenge of losing weight, and maybe you all can make a connection and you can help him with some of his sign language patients. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. You know, I always do a close to leave a symbolic meaning to you all out in the audience. As I've said before, when I was a little girl, I've seen this many times growing up in northern Louisiana, in Rouge, Louisiana, and it stuck with me all my life. We just did a show on addictions. We showed 4 people from tobacco to alcohol to weight increase based on depression, binge eating, that through discipline, the 2 weight loss people walking, exercising, changing their behavior is what changed their life. So I want you all, if you have any problems, to go out and change your life. If you can't do it on your own, get help. Because at the end of the day, if you shine a light, sometimes we have to shine it on ourselves. Thank you very much.